Yeah. Hey and welcome back to my channel. Today I have me some coffee because I've been staying up too late recently and coffee is what gets us through. So I said in my last video I was going to kind of explain and apologize for not being very consistent anymore. It's not that I am an irresponsible and procrastinating person. Absolutely not. The main reason is my laptop was having a ton of issues with storage problems and it's like filling up its storage and no one could figure out why. Gabriel tried to help me. Then I have my good friend Matthew, who is a cool computer engineer type of person, and that's why I'm friends with him, is because he's really useful. And he was trying to figure it out for me, and he couldn't really figure it out either. My laptop was just not having enough storage to upload videos from my camera. Every single time I recorded, I have to like delete a ton of stuff. But there was basically nothing on my laptop anyway, and I had nothing more to delete, and I was like, I literally just can't upload anything until I get more storage for my laptop. So then I was getting Matthew to help me order more storage, and then I was waiting until a good time for him to help me install it. And he did all of that for free, except not for free, because we don't do child labor. I made him a cheesecake, so that makes it okay. And so he fixed it for me. And then I was busy getting married, so I was like, well, I'll procrastinate just a little bit. So I procrastinated just a little bit. And then I was on my honeymoon, and then I accidentally left my charging cord for my camera in Colorado. So yeah, so then I had to buy a new one of those, which I procrastinated doing. And then I had to wait for it here, and then I had to figure out if it worked. But I'll have you know, the day that I got that cord, I was really responsible and I recorded another video. I don't know, this can just be a coffee chat life update little video. It's super random. I was gonna do a tiny little tour of my apartment, but then I couldn't be bothered to clean it. It's a little chaotic at the moment. So I scratched that idea. But a little bit of what I've been up to and what marriage is like now that I've been married for an entire month. I have all of the wisdom and all of the life experience, and so I'm going to tell you guys all about it. So we got married at 9 a.m. and then we drove to Colorado for our honeymoon because we're too little to rent a car. And so we just brought our own car. It was kind of a boring drive, especially when we got to Kansas. We had to drive all the way through Kansas, but it was fun because all the way through I just made jokes about Kansas and that passed the time. Sorry. It's okay though, because Gabriel and I met in Kansas, so I can say whatever I want to about it. And Colorado is beautiful. There were cool mountains. We did a little bit of hiking, saw some beautiful scenic views, stayed in a super cute little house. And then we came back here, moved into our new apartment, and now we're moving again in a couple months, 1 month. So pretty soon. So enjoy the space while you can. And I'm just chilling, working, not doing school, so I'm trying to figure out what to do with my life. I'm getting back into writing because I have a book I started a year and a half ago and never finished. See, I'm not a procrastinator. I know this is what it looks like from everything that I'm saying, but it's not true. And so I've been working on that again, and that's really good to get back into because that's something I did like crazy when I was little. Wow, someone has a really cool car out there. I hope they know they're an awesome person. But yeah, I used to write all the time, and I met Gabriel because of writing, and then didn't write anymore. Yeah, being married, the weirdest thing is how normal it feels, I think. Like, I mean, it's different. Like, I have to share my room again, and I have to wake up to someone else's alarms that needs more time to get ready in the morning than I do. But it is all worth it. Yeah, it's barely been a month, and I already feel like I'm learning so much. Like, I feel like I was able to make really good use of the engagement days. I felt like I was learning a lot, and God was teaching me a whole lot about laying down myself to love someone else. And I feel like I was getting a little too proud about how good I thought I was at that, because being married has been super humbling. I feel like God's really shaking a lot of my self-image and showing me I am not a great person in and of myself, and showing me that there's still a lot of junk in there, and any goodness or beauty that I see in my life or in myself or in my tendencies, like that is still completely 100% a gift from Him. It's not like He saves me and forgives me from like everything that I did before then, but then after that, like I can take at least 50% of the credit for who I become after that. No, He is always to be credited for anything good in my life. Any fruit of the Spirit is a fruit of the Spirit, not of me. And so that's been really hard and really humbling to have marriage bring out some of the worst in me and remind me that I am an impatient and irritable person, and that I don't always lay down what I want for the one that I love, and don't always walk in the path that God laid out for us, the example that Jesus left for us. I haven't been following super well. But if my identity is built on anything other than Jesus and who He says that I am and what He's done for me, it's going to fall, it's going to crumble. And so I'm really glad that God is kind of shaking that and reminding me who I actually am, the good and the bad. so that I have just an honest picture of me, myself, and where I stand with him and what he's done for me. And really it just helps me love him more and be able to connect more with the heart of worship for him when I'm remembering that he gave me everything that I have. And to thank him for that and to see how far he's brought me and what he's actually saved me from and all of the ways that he's changed me and is going to change me, and to be so grateful that it's all dependent on his grace and it's really not dependent on me. And I can't take credit, but that also means I'm not in charge. I'm not the one who has to make myself perfect and has to do this all on my own strength, because now I'm seeing so much how I can't. But that's when his grace is sufficient and his power is made perfect in my weakness, which has been really encouraging to see. I've also been thinking about negative wisdom that my aunt told me. It's a verse in Song of Solomon. It says, "Catch for us the foxes, the little foxes that root the vineyards," and how she felt like in her marriage, that was God's reminder that the little things really matter and they become the big things that run around and completely destroy your marriage. And you have to take them seriously. You have to care about the small things and nip your selfishness in the bud and just stop and fight that, chase after that, like actively rooting that out so that it doesn't ruin the relationship and tear apart your love. And that was super encouraging to be reminded of. God brought to mind when she told me that. I was like, oh yeah, that's another good wake-up call to take the small things seriously, which is another thing I thought I was good at and that God had been teaching me before and that I knew, but it was really good to be reminded of that. And I don't know, I just feel like everything I was learning in the engagement phase is like here intensified. And it's harder, but there's so much more room to be grown and so much more opportunity to see God at work in my life, which is always good, always what we want. So I feel like I'm relearning and learning more deeply, seriously, the importance of laying down myself and giving up what I want and taking that selfishness, taking that bad attitude and not excusing it, not being like, oh, but Gabriel deserved it. He did something inconsiderate and now I have the right to be mad at him. And of course, I get to be mad at him until he apologizes to me. I'm just gonna sit here and be in a bad mood until he's nice enough to me that I feel like, okay, he made up for it. I can't just be selfish. And I've been reading through John multiple times because I feel like there's so much more to soak in. And every time I read it, like, I'm learning something from the chapter and I'm like, gosh, I know there's so much more here that I am just not understanding and not gleaning from this. Like, I feel like I'd have to read it so many times over to actually begin to partake of all of the wisdom and all of the beauty that's in there. But I was reading the story of how Jesus washes the disciples' feet and thinking about all the times that he's like explaining to them that he's gonna die and saying, you know, he's the good shepherd that lays down his life for the sheep. And thinking about just his sacrifice and how he can say greater love has no one than this, that he laid down his life for his friends, and that is the greatest love because Jesus loved enough to carry it through all the way to completion. And just thinking about how in my own life I fall really short of that. Like, I don't know, I'll start making a sacrifice or start doing the right thing, and then 2 minutes later into doing it, I'm feeling bitter about it and starting to be resentful and starting to have a bad attitude and stuff. And thinking, why do I have to do this? But I'm gonna do it, you know, it's an offering of love to God, whatever, I'm doing it. But, you know, there's the verse in 1 Corinthians, it's like, if I speak in the tongues of men and angels but do not have love, I'm nothing but a resounding gong, a clanging cymbal. Whatever we do, it doesn't matter if we don't have love. And that can be really discouraging to me because I'm like, wow, I can't just do the right thing and get rewarded in heaven. It's like I have to have love while I'm doing it. I have to keep up a good attitude all the way through. Like, if I'm starting a sacrifice, I have to completely sacrifice myself, die to myself all the way through to the end to make it an acceptable and pleasing offering to God, which is really hard. Like, I am going to wash the dishes because I want to love Gabriel in that way. And I'm sitting there washing dishes and then thinking about, wow, man, he never takes initiative to wash dishes. Man, I wish he would do that for me. Man, I don't want to be doing this right now. Wow, it's so much work. But okay, I guess I'm just giving things up for the one that I love and sacrificing for love. And then in the end, I end up in a worse mood than I was at the beginning. And it's like, that's not the kind of sacrifice that God desires. I might think it's too hard or too much to ask of me because I'm already giving up my time and energy to wash all of his dishes. But what God requires of me is if I start down that path, if I choose that that's what I want to do, if I say, God, I'm making this sacrifice to you and for him, then I also have to sacrifice the parts of me that want to be bitter about it, the parts of me that want to start having a bad attitude about it, the parts of me that want to start being selfish about it. Those have to go too. And that's really, really hard in the moment. And I feel like so many times, you know, I've started to do the right thing, started to be like, you know what, it's okay, I'm going to just love my husband right now, do something for him, give up what I want, do what he wants. and then start getting bitter and resentful about it. And God's really been convicting me, sacrifice is hard, and it's even harder than I thought, because even things like that where I start doing the right thing and ends up with my heart in the wrong place, that's not what he wants from me, and that's not the kind of sacrifice that earns me Jesus points and gets me a good place in heaven. I have to completely surrender myself to his Spirit and walk in the way of love that he laid out for us, where he loved his own to the end, and he gave up everything for them, sacrificed for them, washed their stinking dirty feet because he loved them, died for us. Like, he prayed that the cup would pass from him, but in the end he carried it through to completion, and that is why he is exalted. That is why his is the name that is above every other name. It's because he loved completely, truly, and purely all of the way through the end. I guess it's kind of like being a Christian. Like, it doesn't really matter your good intentions when you start if in the end you completely forsake that and give up. It's a really hard calling. It's a hard burden to bear, because it's something you have to carry through to the very end, or it's all for nothing. But God enables us, and he gives us the strength, and his Spirit at work in our lives produces that kind of endurance and that kind of faithfulness that he wants to see, and makes us a bride worthy of him. So, random musings from being married. I'm sure I have a lot more to learn, but that's some of the stuff that I've been thinking about. I hope that you enjoy hearing my candid, random thoughts and watching me drink my coffee. Thank you for watching, and goodbye until more interesting things happen.